I do think that we're going to see President Trump returning to social media. This is something that I think will be the hottest ticket in social media. It's going to completely redefine the game.
Define hottest ticket. Define the game. I mean, define any of it. We'll just give you the facts. The Washington Post reports that Donald Trump's blog, as a matter of metrics, audience, readers, every single way they measure blogs, it's a failure. It has lower traffic right now than sites like Delish, Petfinder, Squarespace, and your favorite Eat This, Not That. This is from the Post. Not a single one of the entries ostensibly written by the Florida blogger Donald Trump has gotten more than 15,000 interactions since the blog's second day. The report, though, has one blogger in Florida quite upset. And how did he complain? Well, he reached for a medium where not many people are going to hear about it, his blog. Trump writing that this is a temporary way of getting my thoughts and ideas out to the public, a kind of a backtracking, but that's not how the Trump team has been marketing this when they unveiled it earlier this month. Here's the trailer that debuted on, well, again, a blog that very few people see.
Of history.
Twitter permanently banning the commander-in-chief's personal account with 88 million followers.
It literally sounds like a safe space where you could be safe and free for, I guess, a certain type of thought, and it has not panned out. Donald Trump, writ large, far less relevant online than in many years. On social media, where he, of course, has been removed from several sites, mentions of Donald Trump are at their lowest since 2016. This matters, though, because it may show a bit of a phantom menace here. Republican leaders are openly terrified of the blogger. But do they know whether he still has the same perceived influence? Is it real? Meanwhile, Donald Trump is claiming that in some acknowledgement of this reality, there will be a bigger, different online platform at some point in the future. We're joined now by someone who knows a lot about politics and the internet, Erin Gloria Ryan, who's host of the podcast Hysteria. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Ari.
We mentioned this story here at the end of the week, not just to note that they blew it, that the blog is unpopular, that it's not a hot ticket, that it trails many other sites, that complaining about the treatment of your blog on a blog that no one reads is not a very effective communication strategy. That's not our only point. I'm curious what you think about the wider point that matters when you look at issues ranging from voting rights to the commission to whether to work with Biden on jobs. Does this actually suggest that even among Trump fans, his current influence may be overstated in the minds of Republican politicians?
Well, I would love that if that were the case. But I think right now we're simply talking about just Trump's blog. And I think a blog is not really a way for him to reach his fans. Like, if you take a look at the blog, there's a couple entries that are just like 900-word blocks of text with absolutely no paragraph interruptions. Like, you're trying to get people to read long blocks of text on websites that don't have pictures of their grandchildren uploaded onto them. Like, that's not going to happen. Second of all, there's no comment section. I feel like part of what Trump loves is having approving comments. And, you know, as somebody who started their career as a blogger and who worked as a comment moderator, I have to say there are ways to make sure that a comment section just feeds you what you want to hear. Like, he could filter out troubling words like President Biden or grand jury if he wanted to, and just have all of the comments at the top be something that's going to make him feel good. And I feel like his followers also appreciate feeling like they have a personal connection to President Trump, and just blocks of text on a page don't give them that. I'm not sure if they've decided they need that anymore. I'm not sure if they've coalesced around somebody else. But for now, I just think the blog is sort of what the TikTok generation would call chuggy.
Chuggy. Will you define for us?
Chuggy is a word. If you're a New York Times subscriber, you might have read Taylor Lorentz's story on it. But chuggy means off trend, like following a trend that no longer exists. And blogging, I think, reached its heyday between around 2006 to about 2011. So he's about 10 years late on that.
Yeah, you're saying the medium is out of style, the politician is out of style, recently rebuffed. Why do you think they blew this badly when the one thing he's allegedly supposed to be good at is PR?
Yeah, this kind of PR is a little bit more complicated than the PR he is good at, which is getting on a phone and yelling things at journalists, typing a few sentences down and having mainstream journalists report them out. A lot of times what he'll do is call out individual media outlets, and then all the media outlets kind of circle the wagons and try to defend that one media outlet. And that's been a reliable way for him to get in the headlines. So I feel like another thing is that this kind of demonstrates, building a blogging following takes a lot of work. It's hard. And Donald Trump is not a very hard worker. When he was president, he spent a lot of time golfing. Most of the buildings that say Trump on them are not buildings he built. He's better at branding things than he is at actually doing the work. And I think that this is a reflection of the fact that, anytime Trump is actually trying to do the work himself, he's kind of going to cut corners. And this is a great demonstration of that.